Have you ever looked at an ancient map and wondered, like, how did they know all of that, right? No satellites, no airplanes, no GPS, not even telescopes powerful enough to see distant lands. So how were people thousands of years ago able to draw maps that guided travelers across deserts, oceans, and entire continents? Were they simply brilliant observers, or did ancient civilization know more about the world than we give them credit for, right? Today, we're diving into one of history's greatest mysteries, the world's oldest maps and what revealed about the people who created them. Because once you see how advanced some of these maps were, you may never look at ancient history the same way again. Like, when most people think about maps, they picture something folded in a glove compartment or an app on their phone, right? But maps are much older than that. In fact, humans have been trying to understand and record the world around them for thousands of years. Some of the earliest known maps were even drawn on paper. They were carved into stone, etched into clay tablets, painted onto cave walls. These weren't works of art. They were practical tools. They helped people find rivers, villages, farmland, trade routes, and places that matter for survival. Even the earliest communities understood something important, right? If you knew where things are, you have an advantage. One of the oldest surviving maps ever discovered comes from ancient Babylonia. It's known today as the Babylonian World Map. Instead of showing the entire earth as we know it, it showed the world as the Babylonians understood it. At the center was the center of Babylon. Around it flowed rivers, mountains, and neighboring lands. Surrounding everything was a circular ocean, right? To us, the map isn't geographically accurate, but that's not the point. It tells us how ancient people viewed their place in the world. It wasn't just about geography. It was about identity, about how they believed the world was organized. And that's what makes it so fascinating, right? Man, look, as civilizations grew, their maps became more detailed. Ancient Egypt mapped farmland along the Nile River. After floods changed property boundaries. Greek scholars began measuring distances between cities. Merchants recorded trade routes across deserts and seas. The more people traveled, the better their maps became. Think about that for a second. Every new journey added another piece to the puzzle. Knowledge wasn't discovered all at once. It was built one expedition at a time. One civilization that transformed map making was ancient Greece, right? Scholars didn't just ask where places were, they asked why. One of the most influential thinkers was the Eratosthenes, right? He's famous for calculating the Earth's circumference over 2,000 years ago. And here's the incredible part. His estimate was surprisingly close to the modern measurement. Without satellites, without aircraft, without modern instruments, he used mathematics, observation, and the position of the sun. That achievement alone shows how advanced ancient science could be. Another figure was Claudius Ptolemy. He developed a system using latitude and longitude to describe locations. Does that sound familiar? It's the same basic concept we still use today. Modern GPS is far more precise, but the idea of locating places using coordinates goes back nearly 2,000 years. Sometimes we think innovation only belongs to the modern world. History reminds us that many of us today's ideas have very ancient roots, right? Of course, whenever ancient maps are discussed, one name almost always comes up, right? The Piraeus map, right? Discovered in the early 20th century, this map has become surrounded by mystery. Some people claim it shows Antarctica centuries before the continent was officially discovered. Others believe it proves ancient civilization has advanced navigation technology. It's an exciting story, but historians urge caution. Most researchers conclude that map was created using several earlier maps from different cultures, including Portuguese and classical sources. Some coastlines resemble South America quite well. Other parts are much less accurate. The Antarctica claim remains highly controversial and is not accepted by most historians. Still, the Piraeus map reminds us that knowledge often travels. One civilization builds on another. Ideas are copied, improved, shared. That's how history moves forward, right? Ancient settlers also deserve far more credit than they usually receive. Long before modern navigation equipment, right, they crossed open oceans using the stars, the sun, right, ocean currents, wind patterns, right, even the behavior of birds. Imagine sailing like for weeks without seeing land, like no compass on your phone, no weather forecast, just experience, right, observation and confidence in your understanding of nature. That's an extraordinary level of skill. The same was true for travelers crossing deserts. Trade caravans moving across the Sahara Desert, memorized landmarks, wells, mountains, and routes passed down through generations. Many of those routes eventually connected powerful kingdoms across Africa, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean. Maps weren't always written down. Sometimes they existed in people's memories. Knowledge could be carried from one generation to the next through stories, teaching, and experience. So, did ancient people know more than we think? In many ways, absolutely. Not because they had secret technology, not because they possessed mysterious powers, but because they were incredible observers. They paid attention to the natural world. They measured shadows, tracked stars, recorded distances, shared discoveries, corrected mistakes. Generation after generation, that's exactly how science works. Come on, man. At the same time, it's important not to confuse mystery with evidence. Every now and then you'll hear claims that ancient maps prove lost civilizations with impossible technology or visitors from another world. Those ideas make for exciting conversations, right? But so far, historians and archaeologists haven't found reliable evidence supporting those claims. The real story is already impressive enough. Ancient people accomplished extraordinary things using careful observation, mathematics, and persistence. And honestly, that may be even more inspiring. Every map tells two stories. One is about geography. The other is about the people who created it. Think about that for a second. What they believed, what they feared, what they valued, what they still didn't know. That's why old maps are so fascinating. They're not just drawings. They're snapshots of human curiosity, proof that people have always wanted to explore beyond the horizon, to understand the unknown, to make sense of the world around them. Today, we can zoom from space to our own neighborhood in seconds, right? We can navigate almost anywhere with a smartphone. It's easy to forget how remarkable that is, right? Very easy. But every modern map, every navigation app, every satellite image exists because countless generations before us spent thousands of years trying to answer one simple question. What's out there? The world's oldest maps remind us that curiosity didn't begin in the modern age. It's been guiding humanity since the very beginning. And maybe that's the greatest discovery of all.